you understand you have a responsibility to be a good teammate. Now you've got to come up with an understanding or a definition of what that means. That's how you set your standard. And for me, that standard is what I call the we gear.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back. Championship Leadership Podcast. We got Lance Loya with us here just in Orlando, down in Florida. It's a little warmer there than it is here in Minnesota right now. I imagine it's like we got cold snap. It's like 10 below right now. So, but thanks.
Not 10 below here.
No, what is it there?
It was 82 a few.
Oh man,
look,
yeah, that's almost 100-degree difference there. So. Yeah, I'll take that, but what are you going to do? I guess I could always just move, right? Like
yeah, there's more to life than weather.
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, the seasons are nice, that's for sure. I guess that's what I think we tell ourselves that to convince ourselves that the winters are worth it. So, but yeah. The snow is good, the cold is brutal, but we're not here to talk about the weather. So with Championship Leadership's the name of the podcast. What comes to mind for you? Because I know you got a book called The We Gear, which is, taking a team and showing them how they can work together. Not the me gear, but the we gear, right?
Right.
So, right. Yes, and I think that's fits right in with our conversation when we talk about championship leadership. I think that falls right in line with that. So I'm interested to hear what your definition of championship leadership is.
Well, Nate, I appreciate you starting off the podcast with a softball question.
Absolutely,
that's a hard question. I don't think it is a softball question. Oh, yeah, being silly, of course. That's a difficult question. It's so relative to what championship says to me. I think championship leadership is purpose-driven leadership. You're working towards an objective, and the objective being that championship. Now, what you define championship as, I don't know. Maybe it's leading your team, but you got to be a champion. You got to be able to lead yourself too. So I think ultimately, for me personally, championship leadership is it's creating synergy and maximizing whatever team you do have. Whatever that team is.
Yeah. I love that. And I continue to ask it because I always get a different answer. Maybe if I get 10 people in a row that give me the same answer, I'll stop asking the question, but it's always fun to hear, we're almost 350 episodes in and I always get something a little bit different. So there's no wrong answer. I don't think.
You ever had a bad answer?
No, not really. Not that I can think of. There might've been some lazy answers in there, a handful of just kind of gave me
I don't know, maybe I just gave you
broad. No, I don't think so. Not at all. No, that's not what I was saying at all. But for the most part, no. I mean, everybody gives something a little bit different. So that's awesome because what is leadership, right? It's so many different things, and there's so many different factors and characteristics, and it looks a little bit different depending on every person, as it should, right? Because we're all individuals. But
every circumstance is different. Yeah. Very fluid too.
Yeah. Well, why don't you share a little bit about your story for the listener and who you are, kind of the path you've been on? I know you've written 9 books and you got a 10th one on the way, and you're a speaker. And so, tell us a little bit more about you and kind of how you've gotten to where you are and what it is that you're up to today.
Former student athlete, former collegiate and high school coach.
What sport?
I was a basketball player.
Okay.
Once upon a time, high school, I was a multi-sport athlete, which I continue to advocate for because I think there's just carryover, and you are able to use those various skills. You take them and apply them in life, and that's probably a big part of whatever success I've had in life is because of that. I was coaching, got out of coaching through a really unexpected turn of events. I had a player win an award when I was coaching. It was the All-State Good Works Award. It was for student athletes who went and used their position as a student athlete to make a positive difference in their community, which is what we all want. Every coach wants that, right?
Yeah.
On the flight home from watching that athlete win the award, I had a bad flight. A lot of turbulence scared me. And I really thought, what if this plane goes down? What would be the last bit of advice I'd want to leave my own daughters? What would be that one nugget of wisdom I could implant in them? And I started thinking about the young man who won the award. And, he wasn't the best player in our team, wasn't the leading scorer, wasn't very fast, wasn't very tall, couldn't shoot that well. In fact, I didn't even play him that much. I feel guilty. But he's a great teammate. He loved being a part of the team, and everybody in the team loved being around him. They loved this company. And I thought, there's the advice I want to give my own daughters. Just be a good teammate. You'll be all right in life. You'll always have purpose in your life because good teammates serve the needs of their team. You always have financial security. Companies can't wait to hire someone who's selfless and puts the needs of the company ahead of any self-serving agendas. And then, you always have a support network because people enjoy being in your company. So, how do you convey those deep thoughts to a kindergartner? Those are some abstract thoughts.
Yeah, right.
Well, I drew pictures. I came home off that flight. I sat down at my little home office, what I had back then, and sketched out these very rudimentary drawings of what I thought it meant to be a good teammate. And I wrote out very simple sentences. My daughters were learning to read, so they used what were called sight words back then. I used as many sight words as I could to write these sentences. And I printed off our little inkjet printer, what we had back then, and folded it in half. And I put it on the kitchen counter thinking that would be something I'd stuff away in my, my sock drawer in case something ever happened to dear old dad. Well, as those things go, my wife showed it to her friends who showed it to their friends, and it became a published book. It was a children's book called Be a Good Teammate. And that really launched into a change of career for me. I started getting asked to come speak at schools and children's book festivals. I was completely out of my element.
Yeah.
But everywhere I went, the same thing would play out. There would be some adult who would come over to me and would say, you need to write an adult version of this book because we got some people that work here or people work at my company who don't know what it means to be a good teammate. And I heard that enough times. I eventually took the plunge and I did write my first adult book. So you said 9 books. All 9 of my books are on one single topic, and that's unusual. All about the art of being a good teammate, and I really do think there is an art to this.
Absolutely, yeah, I love it. That's an incredible story too. So, wow, very cool. What who have been some of the championship leaders in your path that you've been on for as long as you've been around that have impacted you, directly, indirectly? And it's always just more so about what stands out from those people than who, but you feel free to share who they are. But some characteristics of these individuals that have really stuck out to you.
I think everybody has their own personal Mount Rushmore. I mean, think of the monument of Mount Rushmore. It's those 4 presidents who, at least at the time, had the biggest impact on our country. The formation of America. Well, I think we all as individuals have our own personal Rushmore, and as we age, and
I like that. I've never thought about it that way. Yeah,
different stages in life, your faces get replaced. They're not necessarily etched in stone. But every one of them impacts you. And for me, I wrote, I don't want to plug my book's content. It's not what I'm trying to do. But I did write a book on this topic.
Yeah, that's a part of,
my book, Building Good Teammates. The subtitle was, your personal Mount Rushmore. And the 4 men who I had, or my Mount Rushmore, were my father, my college coach, my boss, and then my coach when I played overseas, who I also worked for eventually.
Okay.
And what they all had in common, they all really had a different perspective on trust, and how that was such an important virtue in my life, and how I perceived it, how I trusted. My father, we had a challenging relationship, and I learned a lot from him. Sometimes it was what to do, a lot of times it was what not to do.
Sure.
So really scoped trust with the coach I played for overseas. He taught me how to be trusting, how to trust others. And that's hard to do sometimes because you become jaded by previous life experiences. My coach taught me how to really build trust with others. The actions you got to take and the words you need to say and how you treat people is how you build trust, especially with subordinates. And then, my first boss I had, Tim, was, you want to talk about being blessed? I have another boss. I probably am an accountant or I don't know, an engineer or something now. He had such an impact on my life and he was so good. And you just learned how to trust him, how to trust people. And And that's what I got from that. So those people, that's who they were and how they impacted me.
Love it. Yeah, that's great. I love our personal Mount Rushmore. Love it. What's and trust, so huge, right? And I mean, it's especially in any relationship, I don't know, it's very, very high towards the top of the list, right? To have a powerful relationship is trust. And especially in leadership, definitely with leadership, if you're going to be willing to follow someone, there has to be a high level of trust as well, right?
I mean, competence certainly plays into it, but you're not gonna value, you're not gonna see their competence if you have not built a relationship that's capable of building trust.
Yeah, definitely. Well, what's your vision? Because I believe championship leaders have incredible vision and courage to take action on it. I was about to say, it's probably different than when you were a coach to when you are now, but at the same time, it may not be. But yeah, I'm curious to hear what your vision is and the impact that you want to make more so from that in what you do today as an author, as a speaker.
I think I've reached a point in my life where I have discovered genuine purpose, and I am happy. It's not that I wasn't necessarily happy before, but my understanding, I think, of happiness has evolved as I've aged, and the more I get into what I do now, that I do see what I do as having a purpose in this world. And I look at so much of the divisiveness, whether it's the political divisiveness or things that come to racism or sexual discrimination, those type of things, right down to like bullying and the school shootings. I really think that my work impacts that. It's such a array of different clients I get. I'm just the next 2 weeks, I'm speaking in elementary school. I spoke at a corporate event this week, and I spoke at a gala. There's lots of very, very wealthy, influential people in there, and they're trying to raise money for service dogs for the military. Tremendously, I really get behind that. I believe absolutely the value of that. There 22 veterans commit suicide every day. That's a big problem. How are you going to solve that problem? Through teamwork, like all big problems are solved. So I think what I do is I have packaged an age-old solution in very appealing manner in this art of being a good teammate, because anybody can be one. And I think that's, I'm searching for opportunities to continue to do that. And a lot of times I feel like Johnny Appleseed. The more places I plant that seed, the bigger impact I think it has in the world.
Yeah, that's, and I mean, there's the impact that sometimes you can see, and then there's the impact that we absolutely make that we don't see and we don't even know about. That's so powerful as well. And the way you do that is by doing what you're doing, right? Just getting out and communicating a message that helps so many people that I suppose and a lot that you will never know.
You hope, and
yeah, absolutely.
And I feel, this will happen because it happens every podcast I appear on, or every event I speak at. In a day or two, I'll get an email or a DM from somebody. Hey, you said something really made me change the way I think. And I just want to say thank you for it. And I'm extremely humbled by that.
Of course.
But I feel like, check.
Yeah, I mean, that's the proof.
Mission accomplished.
There's those people that you don't even know that are listening that do, and every now and then you get that proof to know that you are making a difference. Sometimes you need it, right? It probably comes at the right time. Sometimes, because we all can have limiting beliefs or self-doubts sometimes on whether we're making a difference or not. And usually those are very well-timed messages that we'll get at times as well. So
I mean, there's somebody listening to this right now who is miserable at their job. Miserable, and they're not getting along with their coworkers. Their coworkers are toxic or selfish, and you got a boss who's either toxic or micromanaging, and they're just that person is miserable, and it's robbing them of a quality life. And maybe that person just needs to hear what I have to say, and it sparks an idea with them. You know what? I can't control those things. I can't control my coworkers. I can't control my boss, but I believe in what my company does. I believe in why I'm here. I can be a good teammate. That I can't control.
Yeah. 100%. And that would, by being a good teammate, you shift the focus from yourself to others. And when you do that, like, your whole perspective can shift. You forget it might be in a job that you hate, but when you start to put that focus on being on the team or others, you kind of tend to forget about some of those things. And maybe actually your perspective around the job that you hated now becomes one that you love because of the people that you're with.
I think that happens. Yeah. I think it happens all the time.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Well, let's shift gears just a little bit. And I know you've listened to some podcasts, maybe you're already prepared for this, but I love hearing stories of people, when they're in a critical moment in their life and kind of that fork in the road and trying to decide which way to go. You've decided how you did, which has you where you are today, but had you decided differently, you could be in a very different place. Obviously, I know, and a lot of times people have already shared this moment before they get into it. Maybe you did with the turbulence in the plane and everything, but we also have many of these moments, I think, throughout our life. And there's just power for the listener to hear, if they're in that moment themselves, how others have chosen during that moment. So is there something that comes to mind you could share?
So many moments.
Yeah.
That there's a country song. I'm not a big country fan, but I do like, stories of country music. And there's a Garth Brooks song about, thank God for unanswered prayers. And, he wished he had that girlfriend so bad, and then he found the real love of his life years later. And he just,
right.
And I think there's a lot of moments like that. When I was younger and I was in high school, I was picking the colleges. I got accepted into NYU's film school, the Tisch School of the Arts, and I thought it'd be maybe an actor and make films. And at the time, there were people like Spike Lee, and we're just gone through school there. So I thought that might be a good path, and ultimately ended up deciding to play basketball and went to another school. And I look back sometimes, I see those actors and I would see their bios, or I look on IMDb and, they were at the Tisch School, or they went to NYU. And I think, wow, that would have been it. And you feel regret, but then you look where you're at life now and you think, I think I'm where I'm supposed to be. And then once I did get into college and I had a chance to transfer, and I had a chance to go to University of Kentucky. I wasn't a good enough player.
Yeah.
Even though I played at my previous school, but my assistant coach, or an assistant coach at the school I played, had taken an assistant job at Kentucky. And he said, well, we can get you in here, but you'll have to be a student assistant, which is like, a nice way of saying water boy. And I was like, my ego was deflated and I didn't want to, do that. So I passed on that opportunity, but that team went on. They won a national championship. Now there were like 4 water boys or team managers on that team. 2 of them coached in the NBA and 2 of them became major Division I coaches.
Yeah.
Collegiate level. So you think, wow, if I would have done that, that could have been me. I mean, one of them coached the Lakers here.
Yeah.
And you think about that, but then I think, why wouldn't be where I am now? And I got to believe that all those life choices were meant to put you where you are now. And I love life. I love where I am, and I love what I do, and I see purpose in it. So I don't know if there's one single moment. There are a series of moments I look back on, but I've just matured enough, I think, or I don't know, grown enough in life to think, that wasn't my path. This is my path.
Yeah, right.
I mean, you're ex-military. Have you experienced that in your life?
Yeah, I mean, we could play the what if game all day long, right?
That's a young man's game that you just you learn it. That's wasted time, right?
I mean, I think you put it perfectly. It's just everything that you've done has you where you are today, and everything that you've done has prepared you for what you do today. Even if you didn't realize it at the time, you can look back and be like, oh, that's why I had to go through that, so that I could be able to do what I do today. Yeah.
I'll give you a real quick example. When I didn't finish my degree in college, I had to go back and take a couple classes. I met someone in one of my classes who said, hey, you looking for a job? And this guy was like a non-traditional student. So I thought, all right, what factory does this guy work at? But he worked at a radio station. He said, we're hiring. I think you'd be good at it. So I worked at a radio station when I was just out of college.
Yeah.
And eventually our station got sold and I got fired. We all lost our jobs.
Yeah.
But that experience has made me very comfortable answering the phone and things like this.
Yeah.
I feel comfortable with this because of that.
Yeah, absolutely. I bet. Prime example. What as we start to wrap this up, if there's one or two things that you could share with the listener, if they were to implement today, help move their life forward today, what would that be?
I would say two things. The first is understand that you are part of a team. All of us are, and and that team is expanded as far as you want it to. That team may be the place where you work. It may be the community you live in. It may be your church, your social network, your circle of friends, maybe your family. But because of that, those are all teams. And when you think of them as teams, you understand you have a responsibility to be a good teammate. Now you've got to come up with an understanding or a definition of what that means. That's how you set your standard. And for me, that standard is what I call the we gear. Now we all start life in the me gear. Where everything's about me, what's in it for me, how's this benefit me, and that's the sole basis for every decision you make. And that is a surefire recipe for misery and regret. So you got these clutch moments in your life when you got to make those decisions. I think to be a good teammate, when you come to those clutch moments, you make your decision based off of one question: what's best for my team? And then you respond accordingly. And I think that is the we gear, and that really is the key to being a good teammate.
Yeah, I love it. Perfect. What is the best way for us to, is there a main channel we can go to for you to find out more about you and what you do?
I'm on all the normal social media outlets, probably more active on Twitter. It's at Coach Lance Loya. My website is www.coachloya.com. And, I'm on the others, YouTube, Facebook. Easiest way, Google Lance Loya, and they all pop up there.
Love it. Perfect. Well, we'll get those links in the show notes for sure. And as you're listening right now, don't go anywhere if you've enjoyed this conversation. And we got the next episode coming right up with more incredible conversations on championship leadership and stories and experiences from others, just like Lance, to help you along your journey and your path as well. So Lance, thank you so much for your time today. It was a pleasure.
Nate, thank you for having me.
Absolutely.